Welcome one, welcome all Borderlands fans. Pax East just happened, and we got to hear even more about Borderlands 4. And I don't have any exact dates, but they even said in June we're gonna get another event to find out more about Borderlands 4. I feel like I'm eating so good with all the little details and nuggets we're getting dropped in, and listening to this showcase, or whatever you want to call it, it felt very repetitive to the state of play, but as I watched it back, listened back, took notes, and just wrote everything down, I ended up with actually a good amount to say here. So strap up, get your snacks, get your sodas, your coffee, whatever you're doing, and let's just dive into Borderlands 4 and see what else we got. So for the start, I want to talk about Vex. They showed her 3 action skills. They did a screenshot with the names, and they talked a lot about this one specifically that they didn't get to in the state of play, Dead Ringer, which was really cool. They basically talk about how when this activates, you'll see on screen there's 2 options that she has to pick from, and she can spawn a Reaper or a Spectre. And the Reaper taunts enemies and is tankier, takes more damage. And then the Spectre you can summon, and it sounds more like an offensive glass cannon type where it dies pretty easily but is very offensive focused. And then what's really cool is they talked about a certain class mod you can get which passes off your gear. I don't know if it's more than just like the weapon, if it passes off the shield and stuff, but at least it passes off your weapon to the Spectre, which is really cool. I can't lie, watching this again made the Siren more enticing to play as. The struggle between who I'm going to play as when this game comes out, like the choice, it's getting more and more difficult every time they go more and more in on a character. I mean, the way they, in this vertical slice, showed the Siren Vex being used reminded me a lot of playing as the doppelganger of Handsome Jack in Borderlands, the pre-sequel, where you spawn these Spectres or these Reapers, and you can spawn them pretty much anywhere on the field of battle. Wherever you're looking, it just like, boop, right there. And what it sounds like whatever element you're holding, whatever gun you're holding and whatever element it's attuned to, that summon is going to spawn using that element, which is really awesome because basically it sounds like to me, I don't know how many you can have spawned at once, but it sounds like to me you can basically spawn a bunch of these and then have them all have different elements attached to them and basically overwhelm like a boss or something with a bunch of elements. It just sounds like such a fun way to play. It reminded me again of playing as Doppelganger Handsome Jack and the way his clone things or whatever worked, and it was just like he was so much fun to play as. So if it's anything like that, which it did look like a little bit, I like the choice between taunting and damage, and not even choice because you can, I believe, spawn both. You can just kind of like choose like, all right, I'll put a Reaper over here, I'll put a Spectre over there. Sounds so awesome. And now as we dive further in, they talked about weather. Weather changing patterns are now a thing in Borderlands for the first time with Borderlands 4, and this, although small and they say has no gameplay effect, is something I'm excited about. Environment isn't something I talk about much when I talk about Borderlands, but the Borderlands world is special, and I think having things like snowfall and rain in the game will really enhance the unique feel of the Borderlands world, especially the snow, because I love snow in real life and snowy regions in games. My favorite part of any game map will be where the snow is. And speaking of the environment, some of you, cough, K6, cough, may be upset, but mini maps are 100% confirmed to not be in the game. Randy himself just faced that question head on and said, look guys, this is a design choice we made. Personally, I don't care. Mechanically, as I've said, probably a downgrade, but this is something I think is a design choice, and they've chosen from a design philosophy to run it with the compass, and I'm fine with that. Till proven otherwise, i.e. if the game feels like crap. But hey, I gotta give Randy props here. I mean, I know a lot of people aren't, huge Randy Pitchford fans, but he faced this head on, he took it, and he said, look guys, this is what we're going with. We feel like We've done a lot of other things outside of the compass to really help you get from point A to point B and not feel lost. You know, the map, he said, is a click away, and then you can set your GPS essentially, where I'll talk about now, actually. Sticking with navigation, I kind of got an answer on my own question about the Echo 4 guiding line. The guiding line here is exactly what I was hoping it would be, where Randy pretty much said it's like a GPS line on the map when you open up that menu, and it follows whatever waypoint. So this is nice because it will guide you for both objectives and custom waypoints, which would be great for finding your way to named enemies and stuff. Say you Google up like, hey, where's this named enemy? You're going to be able to look at that map online and then, go into your map, set your waypoint. Oh, it would be so cool if they actually just have the mini bosses as an icon on the map. I wonder if they have that. I literally just thought of that, and I don't know how I just thought of that. I wonder if they have that in Borderlands 4. That would be an incredible quality of life. Anyway, moving on. The menu we saw, this page here, the Echo 4 was on the right pane with a reward prompt for you to collect some kind of reward. And someone at PAX basically said that Echo 4 is your way of doing a lot of things like completing objectives rather than having to talk to Lilith. I was incredibly excited when I heard that. Anyone watching my channel for a while now and hearing me talk about Borderlands 4 knows I've been preaching forever about letting us just do things by the Echo on the fly, so we aren't constantly interrupting gameplay to turn in objectives and things. This was literally one of my biggest critiques and complaints of Borderlands in general, but especially with Borderlands 3. And to hear them address this issue head on is absolutely incredible. So my speculation is that Echo 4 in the right pane of the menu, when it says rewards, is you completing an objective, and then it gives you the reward there. Instead of having to go back to a character and get your reward, it's just the Echo 4 delivering it to you, which is fantastic. Okay, again, Randy takes a hard question and really, it seemed like to me, faces it head on. Do I think he knows more than he's letting on to? Yes. Is he allowed to talk about that stuff? No. It's a business at the end of the day. I don't even think this is his choice. Anyways, let me get to it before I start talking about it, because you guys have no idea what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the price of Borderlands 4. Something that kind of shocked me was that they brought this up. It really caught me off guard, as I've been wondering, and I'm sure many of you have as well, will this game be $80? Randy didn't really answer, and he said he has no idea, and this choice is for the suits upstairs, which I believe him on that end. Does he know? I think he has some semblance of clue. He is the CEO of this company, but of course he has publishers and people to answer to above him. So I think, I don't know, my friend just brought up a really good point after I just went through and fleshed out my own thoughts. My initial thought was I thought 100% this game, it's just going to be $80. And that's not me being pessimistic or blaming this on Randy or anyone, but I just see that GTA 6 is more than likely going to be $100. The media pushed this narrative and it's been in all our heads. I think it's a way to get us prepared for the $100 of GTA 6. I don't know that it's going to be $100. I'm just guessing. Why else is the media pushing this like crazy? Maybe it's to overstate so that when it's 80, we're all relieved. I don't know. But if they're doing that, then why wouldn't they push Borderlands 4 to $80? I don't think Randy or anyone at Gearbox has anything to do with this. Again, I don't actually know anything about this. I'm just taking this as an approach to seeing the forest through the trees. What the price will really be is yet to be known. This is purely my speculation, and we still don't know when pre-orders open. Now, what I was talking about earlier, my friend mentioned that Mafia Old Country is $50, and I was like, well, yeah, but who publishes that? Guess who publishes it? 2K. So I don't really know what to think anymore, because if they want to push GTA 6 to this exponentially high price, and then on top of that, in the same breath, push Mafia Old Country for only $50 when the new standard is being raised to $80, I don't know what to think. I am very perplexed by this. I mean, I get it. Companies there is a point where raising prices is actually bad for business. So I get it. There's probably companies, Randy said it himself on stage, there's all this stuff going on in the world, and companies don't want to have to raise the price if they don't have to, because they know that might impede the level of purchasing. So I don't know anymore. I was very sure about Borderlands 4 being $80, and now I really don't know, because this whole thing where they're releasing a game under the same umbrella for only $50. I'm not saying Borderlands 4 will be $50. I think the lowest it would be is $70, 100%. So I don't really know. Let me know what you guys think down below. And again, I truly think Randy has some semblance of an idea, but I don't think it's his choice whatsoever. It's typically the publishers that do this stuff. They handle all that. They're the ones kind of, giving them the money to budget and work on this. So yeah, it's typically up to them. Anyways, moving on from pricing and all that boring and depressing stuff, we have weapon brands. Back to the actual game. They put this on screen to show what weapon brands are in Borderlands 4. And then there's 3 brands that have no weapons in the game, but will have licensed parts in the game. So I thought that was interesting that they actually, even though these 3 brands that have licensed parts don't have any guns in the game, they still have licensed parts. I thought that was really cool, because now it allows for more variability, or whatever the word is, for your weapons, even though they're not in the game. Again, it's just those parts that allow for different abilities on your gun, just allowing for a larger variance in the system. Moving on, they did talk about co-op, which does sound really great. However, they didn't address the revive system, which I had an issue with in Borderlands 3, because you just never knew when someone went down unless your teammate literally was just yelling at you like, hey, I'm down. So I hope that they fixed this. Other than that, being able to just teleport from across the map to your teammate instantly, no loading or anything, sounds fantastic. And not that we expected it, but there is no tethering, so you can just sprint or drive your separate ways and go farm completely different enemies at the same time, which is actually kind of dope, especially with those reroll machine things, whatever you want to call them. I think it was called Moxie's big encore machine, where you can just reset the named bosses and things. If I do wonder how those work. Like, are they just kind of like the fast travel and save stations where they're set up right next to where the boss is and you go into it, hit reset? I don't know. I do wonder how that works. It would be really cool if that's how it works, because then again, you can run your separate ways, be in the same game, farming different enemies, run over to that machine, hit reset, and just keep going. The idea of actually being able to farm for your own gear while co-op is just one of the most exciting things ever to me, especially because I've since Borderlands 3, been really into the end game and liked the farming aspect and all that stuff. And then my friends could never really get into it, so we never got to really do much end game together. It kind of makes me excited to think this might be a great way for people that were never really into endgame to get into it, because now somebody like me that's more hardcore into it and knows how to do things and learns all these things might be able to be staying in a game with my friends, and just kind of, it gets them into it. And then on top of that, I can help them and teach them. And, it's all those things that really help the accessibility to me of getting into endgame. I think it's going to help a lot. Anyways, moving forward, we have, which I'll put up on screen now, this shift code that they dropped during the show, as they usually do, which I believe they said gives something crazy like 75 gold keys for each game. And then the part that I care more about is 25 diamond keys for Borderlands 3, which is pretty crazy, so be sure to redeem that. I'll have it typed out down below in the description, so you can just copy and paste it if you want on the Shift website, which I'll also have linked down below. Something cool they went into was they actually did give us a semblance of an idea of a specific legendary that you'll be able to get in the game called Ruby's Grasp. It is a dedicated drop, and it sounds like it replicates, the way they talked about it, it sounds like it replicates what the boss at the end of the State of Play does. What exactly that means, I don't know. I'm assuming like you shoot it and it fires off like a zillion little spectral hands or something. Sounds really sick, and I can't wait to see it. But again, what they mentioned within there, dedicated drops. They said on this showcase, it was kind of a big statement to me. I don't know. They said every boss and every mini boss will have dedicated loot drops. Every boss and every mini boss. That is a big statement to make. And if true, depending on, of course, how many bosses and mini bosses there are, but it's Borderlands, so I'm sure there's plenty, that hopefully means the loot pool will be very spread out. So we aren't farming a named enemy getting 4 or 5 of their dedicated gear. There's no like, he's got a 15% chance to drop one of these and it's like 4 or 5 of them. I'm hoping like 2 at most. That would be crazy. This sounds like a great improvement if it's all true. I don't see why it wouldn't be. I don't know why he would say that, but that is a big statement to make, saying that every boss and every mini boss has a dedicated loot drop. That is crazy. That's just a great sign that they're listening, because throughout Borderlands 2s and 3s and Wonderland's lifetime, we heard so many times people saying like, there's this named enemy, there's that named enemy, there's, so many named enemies that don't get used for dedicated drops. So it was awesome to hear them say that. Moving on, they talked about how the licensed parts system works and how the combination can create some very unique weapons. There is no crafting in the game, which is good as a Borderlands fan. I want none of that. I just want good old farming so that what's on the gun is what you get. He talks about each rarity having tiers of behaviors and says that purple actually has the most varying behaviors. Now, emphasis on the word varying, the most varying behaviors. And then legendaries have one less varying, but instead that last one is a constant behavior specific to that legendary. So I don't know the amount of different parts a gun can have per rarity, but let's say purple has 3. That means it has 3 parts that can all vary on that gun. But with a legendary, it would only have 2 parts that can vary, and then the third is locked. I like this because it makes purples sound like they may have some weight and purpose to them. With pearlescence not being a thing, I think it's important for purple rarity to feel like a rarity that can squeeze its way into the endgame with certain guns and very specific roles on those guns. So basically, in order to use a purple at endgame, it might need to be a damn near perfect one, which would be great, because then it makes them feel like they have some weight to them if they matter at endgame, as long as they're a good one. Okay, so they talk about enhancements, and I'd honestly just like for you guys to hear about this for yourselves. So I'm just gonna play this quick clip for you.
That's another thing, like you're gonna be kind of want to round up, specific manufacturers.
Enhancements, they come back in the form, they were called artifacts in BL3 and we're calling them enhancements in BL4. They're a way to modify the playstyle. So if you really favor a manufacturer like Jacobs and you want to have that crit behavior that kind of ricochets the bullet, you can have that on another gun that has a Jacobs license part with the Jacobs enhancement, so that now a Torg with a Jacobs license part can now ricochet their sticky gyrojets on other targets.
And our eagle-eyed community saw something that looks like set bonuses. There's airstrike there. What is that?
Yeah, so for the first time ever, we're adding firmware, which is our end-game system, and it's one of our end-game systems to help boost the power of the gear. And as you can see in this screenshot, there's 3 parts to it, and if you can get all 3 parts, you get a big damage or utility increase.
That sounds like gears like sets to me.
So they describe pretty well how it's going to work, but then also kind of slip in that the quote-unquote firmware we've all been wondering about is going to be a big playing factor into how we run the endgame. He says this one is 0 out of 3. So it sounds like different ones could require varying amounts of matching, and also initially says damage increase, but then corrects and says utility increase. So this firmware could probably boost a number of different stats, and I'm just really interested to see how it plays into the endgame. Speaking of endgame, they talk about save quit farming no longer being a necessary part of the game, and how bosses respawn, and I just, again, want you guys to hear their words for yourself.
Rant, do overworld enemies respawn without save quitting?
Yes, overworld enemies do respawn, just like in previous games. It's on a timer. There will be a machine to respawn bosses and mini-bosses, though, based off how fast the player kills them.
Yeah, there's like a literal machine you could use to just make the boss reset so that you can grind them again if you want to get that dedicated loot drop.
They talk about overworld enemies respawning on a timer. This tripped me up for a second. Like, do I have to wait for my enemies to respawn? But I think in that statement he meant more like regular psychos and whatnot, because then he goes on to say that there will be that machine we heard about in the state of play to respawn bosses and mini bosses. But then they say based on how fast the player kills them. I don't know. He probably just meant if you kill the boss faster, then you can get to the machine and reset that boss, and basically you can farm him faster the better you are at killing them. I don't think there's really any issue here. I think it's just the way they worded things kind of tripped me up, and I thought like, oh great, do I have like some kind of timer where I can only reset them so often? I don't think it's any of that. I think they truly gave us a pure quality of life enhancement here where we can kill something, run over a machine, reset them, and just keep doing it over and over as quick as we possibly can. Now for the last bit here, they did a rapid fire Q&A, which I'm just gonna kind of summarize everything they said that I didn't touch up on. And the first one was Invincibles. Wasn't really much of a discussion. Sounds like basically he answered saying yes. He was a little hesitant to answer. So I do wonder if they're invincibles by nature, but not in name. Either way, sounds like we got that. Split screen, as we all expected, or at least I did, so it will be in the game, and confirmed it's horizontal for whatever that's worth to anyone. They confirmed something akin to Guardian ranks will be in the game, however they make it sound like maybe it's more impactful. They said there will be more involved level of choice with whatever the new endgame ranking system is, so maybe there's a level cap to that as well or something. I don't know, I'm just spitballing here, speculating. If you guys have any ideas outside capping the level to put pressure on your choice of endgame levels like a Guardian rank or a Badass rank, let me know. Next up, they spoke on Ordinate a little, letting us know it's akin to Iridium but has quote-unquote opposite effects, whatever that means, and it's not a currency. So I and probably many others were wrong about that. Also, they said, quote-unquote, will explode shit. Last but not least is vaults. And we heard from the state of play that there are vaults to find and loot, and they sound like little dungeons to run through, which is cool. And they say these are farmable. You can rerun the vaults. There's no like, oh, you did it, you open the chests, done, never going back in there. You can rerun these. Now, a little PS at the end here, because that was pretty much everything from the PAX East showcase, every little nugget and everything I could get out of that in details. The last thing I want to say here is from the state of play, there were two things that I was wondering where you equip these things, shields and class mods. Well, I think someone in my comments section, shout out to percent3203, he says, I believe the class mod slot might be in the skill tree screen bottom left. It's the same symbol that is on the skills they are getting from the class mod. And what he means by this is if you look at this screen here, which I'll put up now, they have the skill tree screen, and you see in the top part of it over to the left, they have two skills and they have little blue symbols on them. They match the symbol that is in the box at the bottom left. And those two skills are being added by skill points. Yeah, those two skills have skill points in them being added from the class mod. And so I think you equip the class mod on the skill tree screen. And originally I was like, wait, what? Like, that is weird. Why? Like, why is it separate from your whole inventory? And I didn't like it at first, but then my friend pointed out to me like, no, dude, that's actually kind of dope, because now you're not tabbing back and forth in the menu constantly like, oh, what does my class mod do? All right, tab, tab, tab. Oh, okay, here it is in the skill tree. All right, wait, what did it do again? Tab, 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 looks at class mod, tab, 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 looks at skill tree. Now it's all on one screen. So I think this was actually a really good move by them if this is the case, which, I mean, I don't know where else you'd equip the class mod. Now it just is a mystery to me as to where you equip your shield. No idea. But with that, guys, this video is long enough, and that's pretty much everything I had to say from this PAX East. Let me know what you guys think down below. Excited to hear from everybody, and oh my god, I just got to shout out, thank you everyone that showed up to my last video. Over an hour long, almost an hour 9 minutes, an hour 8 minutes and 53 seconds to be exact, and 2,600 of you show up. Bunch of people subscribing. Thank you so much for the support. Hit that 500 milestone and passed it. We're at like 522 now. You guys are freaking legends. I can't believe how many people truly sat down and listened to me yap for over an hour. That is insane. I was rendering that video, thought for sure, dead on arrival. I mean, it was over an hour long. I really didn't expect much. But for you guys to make it part of my top 10 videos, most viewed videos, that is insane. For my small channel, thank you so much from the bottom of my heart. It meant so much. So thank you again. And if you stayed till the end of this one, you're a friggin' legend. Consider subscribing. I'm going to be doing tons of Borderlands 4 coverage as the year goes on, and even past that, because I'm sure once Borderlands 4 drops, it's going to be like one of the only games I play for the year. So I'll see y'all in the next one. Thank you again. Peace out.